There's been a lot of communication coming out of official Ukraine today. Volodymyr Zelensky held a high-level meeting with military commanders, ministers, and also notably Ukraine's human rights ombudsman, Dmytro Lubinets. He issued a long statement today after that meeting. I think that Ukraine is keen to show the world that they are considering the human rights situation. Volodymyr Zelensky talked about creating military administrations in these occupied parts of Russia. Dmytro Lubinets continued saying that that would also be to ensure the respect of the human rights of the people in those areas, and also that international law is being respected. I think the Ukrainians want to preempt any attempt by the Russians to accuse them of war crimes, to accuse them of harming civilians. They want to underline that they are not the Russian army, that they are an army that respects international law. To that end, they've also started to let a few teams of journalists into the occupied areas of Kursk region in Russia, or at least just across the border. They're also stressing, the Ukrainians, that this is first and foremost a defensive operation. They're talking about creating a buffer zone rather than calling it a land grab or saying that they want to occupy these areas long term. They were saying, and this was particularly coming out of a statement from the foreign ministry, that this was necessary in order to push the Russians further away from their own border. And the foreign ministry spokesman, Georgy Tikhy, noted that in the last 2 months alone, some 2,000 rockets and missiles have been fired across the border from Kursk region into Ukraine's Sumy region alone. So that this operation is really about protecting the Ukrainian inhabitants of those border areas of northeastern Ukraine as much as anything else. I think, though, no one would dispute that there are a lot of other goals involved in this. It clearly is beneficial to Ukraine in a whole host of ways, particularly, of course, in calling the Russians bluff, showing that the Russians weren't going to react with using nuclear weapons or something like that if a foreign army entered their territory, and that they're actually not very good at defending their own land. So it seems so far, anyway.